Good morning again. I have to laugh, Nancy. A couple days ago, I was sitting here looking at the calendar going, August 14th, it's a significant day. Why is that a significant date? Is it somebody's birthday? Is it? Oh yeah, it's a former wedding anniversary. So I'm celebrating an anniversary too. I'm just not married to that person anymore. So we can celebrate anniversaries together this week. So our topic today is nature. We're taking a look at nature. And this comes from if you've been with us for, as many of you have, for the whole, our journey this year, we're looking at creating a world that works for all. And so the part of the Global Heart Vision that this speaks to says that we see a world which has renewed its emphasis on beauty, nature, and love through the resurgence of creativity, art, and aesthetics. We see a world which has renewed its emphasis on beauty, nature, and love through the resurgence of creativity, art, and aesthetics. Creativity, art, and aesthetics is kind of a right brain. It's a heart activity, right? And so I was looking up a Neil deGrasse Tyson quote yesterday for something else I wanted to do, and I noticed that he said, had another quote that said, what if we taught empathy along with reading, writing, and arithmetic in our schools? And empathy is heart-based. Empathy is heart-based. What if we also educated the heart in our schools? And it would start to lead us towards this resurgence in creativity, art, and aesthetics. Just an idea to hold in our consciousness of how can we move from just the left brain, just the intellect, to also the heart. And I love it because nature puts me, and probably all of us, into our hearts. I want to start with a quote from Dr. Hans Selye, who is an early pioneer in stress reduction. And he says, the capacity to contemplate the harmonious elegance in nature's manifestations is one of the most satisfactory experiences of which man is capable. Looking at something infinitely greater than our conscious selves makes all our daily troubles appear to shrink by comparison. There is an equanimity and a peace of mind which can be achieved only through contact with the sublime. And I love that. I know when I go out into nature, it's like all of a sudden kind of all the stuff isn't so stuffy anymore. Get some fresh air into it, and it gets into perspective. I used to like to say, if you've got a problem, there's that phrase, don't tell God how big your problem is, tell your problem how big your God is. And when I'm in nature, I can start to remember that again, how big this is, and how, this nature, which has been around for, on this planet for however many billions of years, my little problem here is kind of small compared to, some of the challenges and stuff that's happened on this planet. Even Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, whichever one you don't like, is going to be a blip and gone, in another, millennium. There's an analogy that if all of life, from the beginning of the planet to right now, was a football field, okay, starts at one goal line, everything from caveman to forward would be one blade of the turf grass at the other goal line. That's what we're living in right now. And we're just a little molecule on that blade. And so it puts it in perspective. And I love that. I used to say that nature is my church before I discovered religious science. Actually, the first time I was invited to a church of religious science, I said, no, I'm not going to that. I was up in Bishop, California, and I was going to go hiking up some trails up there, and I said, no, nature is my church. I'm not going to go to that stuffy little church. I ended up in that stuffy little church anyways, because nature had a different plan for me that day and changed my life. And 5 years later, I finally went to my second religious science church, and now I'm here. So, but I used to say nature is my church. It was a place of great contemplation. It was a place of great peace for me and connection. It was where I experienced the divine most easily and most powerfully. And some of my most powerful natures, and as I'm talking about these, I invite you, because we all have powerful memories in nature, yes? And so journey along with me. I'll talk about some of mine. I lived in Connecticut when I was in my 20s, and I used to love it when the snow would fall. I had a golf course behind the apartment complex in which I lived, in a park, with hiking trails across the street, and that beautiful quiet of that first snowfall. Of that, and the golf course, the red flags would be frozen across with little icicles hanging on them. I would be crunching through the fresh fallen snow, and it was so deep and so quiet. I remember I was just talking with Holly Day about this the other night, sitting with friends in a hot ditch outside of Bishop, California, up into the Sierras. There's this natural hot springs that flows down to little ditches, and you pick which ditch you want to sit in for which temperature, because it gets a little bit cooler with each one down. So you can kind of adjust your temperature by which ditch you want to sit in. And we were sitting there one night with the Sierras. It was late October. The air was brisk and the water was warm. The Sierras are going straight up, just covered with a brand new coat of snow. The moon, the stars are up there. It was just so beautiful. It sticks with me to this day. I've been hiking in so many beautiful places. I've sat on rocks in streams. I remember early morning in the Mojave and the Anza Borrego deserts when I lived in the Los Angeles area, being out there in that deep peace of the desert. Early mornings in a redwood grove, standing on the oceans from literally Maine to California. And you have those memories. We all have those memories. Those times in nature where we just felt so connected and so deep and so immersed. The other night I was over at Holly Day's house, and we were sitting out watching the meteor shower. And I know a couple of others of you from Facebook were posting that you were watching the meteor showers that were going on. And it was just so peaceful and so beautiful. That's where I remember the quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson, that he says, "I look up at the night sky, and I know that yes, we are part of this universe, we are in this universe, but perhaps more important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us." When I reflect on that fact, I look up. Many people feel small because they're small and the universe is big, but I feel big because my atoms came from those stars. If you want to meet a star, look at the person next to you. Look in the mirror. Each of us is stardust. He also said, not only do we live among the stars live within us. So breathe that in. You and I are not some alien beings planted here somewhere, somehow. We are the universe itself manifesting itself. We belong here. We and the earth are not apart. We are a part of the earth. The earth grew us. The earth manifested us. Just as it did every rock, every tree, every animal, we are part of that. We are part of that. And so we belong here. And so being in nature, when we're paying attention, returns us to that awareness of our true nature, our own true nature. And it brings us into balance, and it brings us into perspective with our life. It's interesting because I've talked to a number of people, and I know my own experiences. A lot of us have this urge or desire to be naked when we're in nature, if we're private enough. I won't ask for anybody to show hands, but we all, several people that I know of. I know Michael Beckwith was on one of his CDs, sat there and said one day, at one point in time in a CD, he was having a oneness experience with nature, and he goes, I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this, but I took off all my clothes and laid in the grass. And so we all have that desire, and what I look at that is it's our shedding of our barriers to our full experience, to really returning to our true nature, to having that close experience. It's the shedding of our civilized person. Okay? And it accesses our natural self and gives us that sense of freedom, which Ernest Holmes tells us is the divine plan. Freedom is the divine plan. So I thought this morning we would do a little experience of nature. We're not going to go out for a nature walk, okay? We're going to stay right here. But we're going to have a guided meditation, a guided experience of that. And our subconscious mind, as many of you know, has no ability to distinguish between something truly experienced in form and something experienced within imagination. So I invite you to let your imagination sink into this. This is also how, if you're stuck in some place, if you're stuck where you can't get out into nature, but you need a nature break, you can take 5 minutes and just in your imagination just travel to one of those beautiful places, one of those beautiful memories that you have of nature, and just immerse yourself back into this. So I'm going to invite Damien to put on some quiet music. And I'm going to invite us to gently, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes and take a deep breath. And just relax into your chair. Let yourself just relax. taking in another deep breath. Imagine now that you're on a path that is moving away from this place. And it's leading you to what I like to call our sacred space, your sacred space. A space that for you is just that place where you feel empowered, immersed in spirit, immersed in love, immersed in wisdom. And allow yourself to arrive in your sacred space. Just look around, notice what it looks like. Listen to any sounds, notice any smells. And feel the deep inner sense of peace being in your own sacred space. Breathe that air in. Now imagine that in your sacred space, there is now appearing a portal, a gateway, a doorway. And that gateway, that doorway is going to take you from this sacred space into a powerful place in nature, a place where you truly experience your own powerful nature, clearly experience your own true nature, a place of guidance and wisdom. And so imagine yourself now stepping through that portal and arriving in a place deep in nature, whatever that is for you. And breathe that in. Look around and just notice what it looks like. And again, listen for sounds. Notice any smells. And reach out and touch something in this place of deep nature. Just notice what it feels like. And in this place, you notice now that there is a guide waiting for you, an animal guide. Perhaps it's a deer, perhaps it's a bird, perhaps it's a bear, perhaps it's a fish to take you deep. But notice that guide. Notice that you and that guide are one. This guide is going to help you to hear your soul call. So begin to follow this guide now as it leads you. This guide leads you to a high place where you can see your whole life laid out in front of you. You can see your past, you can see your present, you can see your future. And just notice it. Be aware of what it is like to sit in this high place. Above the day-to-day of your life and being able to look down upon it. Imagine now that you're lifting up from this place, up into the air. You're looking in the direction of your past. And you look past the past of this lifetime. And you see it clearly with the piercing eyes of a hawk or of an owl. You see through any fog that there is, through any distance that there is. You see yourself before you ever came into this body. And notice that you had an intention for this lifetime. Perhaps more than one. And you become aware of that intention. With those clear eyes, you see past the forgetfulness. And you perceive the remembering of knowing who you are and why you came here. And you let that sink in. Now from this high place, you're going to move over towards your present and dive through the present, and imagining that you're becoming a fish that can go deep beneath the level of the present, beneath your day-to-day life. And as you go deep, you listen, you hear. What is it that deeply wants to be known now? What is the whale call of knowledge moving through the water of your present moment, beneath your present life, that wants to be known now? Listen. And now from this deep place you rise back up again, up through the present, finding yourself perhaps on the wings of an eagle, circling higher and higher. And you rise and look beyond your immediate future, the one that you think you know. Again, with the piercing eyes of the eagle. To see into that future that you truly want to create, that you truly came here to create. And you begin to see, what must I be or do to fulfill this intention for my life? This intention that I saw from before I was born. What is it that is mine to be or do now with that intention? Where do I need to go in this future? What is calling me? What is calling me? And from this high place now you return back to the mountaintop on which you were sitting. You notice your animal guide beside you and be aware of yourself. And you can ask your guide if there's anything else that needs to be known at this time. Now your guide begins to lead you back down off of the mountain, back to the place where you came into this beautiful world of nature. You take a moment to once again breathe in the air, the freshness of the air, the richness of the vegetation around you, the sounds, And you let it fill every cell of your body. Knowing that you can return to this place or one like it anytime. Your guide leads you back to the portal door. And so thank your guide, thank your animal guide. Knowing that you can connect again anytime you want. Take one last breath in this place, step through the portal, and find yourself back in your sacred space. And take a moment to simply reorient, to be aware of that place. Notice what it looks like, what it feels like. Notice if anything has changed. You take the gifts that you've received, the wisdom that you received, the awareness that you've received from this journey. You step from a sacred space onto a path that will lead you back to this room. So peacefully, gently, with full awareness, you walk that path until you find yourself back sitting in your chair, in your body, here in this room. Taking in a deep breath, wiggling your fingers and toes, perhaps rolling your shoulders. Allow yourself to ground fully back in your body in this place, in this time. Carrying with you the gifts that you've received, the peace that you've received. And when you're ready, very gently open your eyes and be fully present here in this room. This week I'm going to invite you to do 2 spiritual practices. The first one is to spend some quality time in nature. If you can't do it physically, and we're blessed here in Redding, aren't we? We have plenty of places to easily be in nature. And to spend that time paying attention, to really look and listen and feel, to not be out in nature. It's fun to go out and take a boat across the lake or something like that, but to just be and pay attention in that nature, to be aware. To be aware that you belong here. To sit in that nature and going, I am one with this. I am one with this. This which I'm looking at and I are one. This which I'm feeling and I are one. And then secondly, let yourself experience the world differently. Find a different way to experience the world. Cynthia and I were watching a program on dogs the other night. Cynthia was watching the program on dogs. I was cooking in the kitchen, but I happened to hear. And they talked about that when humans enter a room, humans look around the room. We use our eyes and look around the room. A dog smells around the room. Other animals use their antenna, their perception of the air around them. Play this week with using a different sensory perception. Perhaps closing your eyes and listening or smelling, and just notice what you experience from that. Use it as a method of play. Use it as a method of imagination and creativity to experience that. So I invite you to do those 2 practices this week. Spend time in nature and perceive the world differently. Activate something different within you for how you perceive this world around you. Are you willing to play with that? Yes. Yeah. Wonderful. I want to close with a quote. Actually, it's a part of a poem, again, from David Whyte. In case you don't know, I kind of like David Whyte. It says, you, one more member of the prison population whose eyes have caught the open gate at last. You are the one for whom the gift was made. Keep that look in your eyes, and you'll gladly grow tired of your reflection. There for all to see, the well of stars in the great night from which you were born. You, one more member of the prison population, whose eyes have caught the open gate at last. You are the one for whom the gift was made. Take in the gift. Let's move into prayer. And so breathing in that awareness, that infinite presence, whether we call it nature, whether we call it spirit, whether we call it God, the Tao, the Buddha mind, whatever name we give it, that infinite intelligence, which is the natural world, the trees, the rocks, all of this planet, the solar system, the sun, which is just one of the billions of stars in the Milky Way galaxy, which is just one of the billions of galaxies throughout this universe, which may be just one of billions of universes. That, and beyond that, is the one. And the good news is we are one of that. We are not separate from it. We are not isolated, abandoned little children left on a rock in space. We are one of this entire universe. It lives through us, and we through it. The infinite presence lives, moves, and has its being as us, and we live, move, and have our being within it. We are one of that. And so I speak my word that this week we open up to the magnificence of our own nature, which is part of the nature all around us, one of the nature all around us. That the beauty we see outside lives within us. The grandeur we see outside lives within us. And we see that. We take the time to actually truly, more than ever before, see that, smell that, taste that, experience that, hear that this week. And it lifts us and enriches us and moves us past the boundaries of old civilized selves into the true nature of our powerful freedom of who we truly are. We allow ourselves to be aware that we are nature, alive as us. And for each person who plays with this, for each person who has any part of this experience, I am so grateful. I give thanks. I give thanks for the willingness to play, for the willingness to expand. Knowing that each of us is one of that. And out of that gratitude, I release this word into that which we call the law, the process of manifestation, the process of taking this idea and moving it into form and experience in our lives so that we are blessed and enriched by it, and blessed and enrich the rest of the world by it, because we are all one. We are all connected. And so we allow this to happen. We allow this to be our true nature. We let it be. We affirm that together by saying, and so it is. Thank you.